Well, this is a video about a truck that I just am finishing up. Bit of a light restoration, but a fairly heavy rebuild on. This is a former farm truck, grain truck from Saskatchewan. Now, I didn't purchase it directly from Saskatchewan. I purchased it from a gentleman fairly locally here who had purchased it from Saskatchewan a few years back, and he had a plan to possibly redo it, but I think his ambitions to do it exceeded his abilities. So the truck sort of languished for several years in his yard, and he had mechanics tinker with it a bit, but they really just tinkered and didn't do much, and in fact actually did things that were counterproductive. So it has grain racks. I took the grain racks off because what I did was I reskinned the deck. It had, well, it still has, it has 1.5 inch tongue and groove lumber for the deck, but I wanted number one, a grain-proof deck, and number one, if I want to park a tractor on here or haul logs or firewood, I wanted a deck that was good and sturdy and durable, and also one, particularly in the case, this is a dump, there's a scissor lift on it. I would like things to slide off. So it's a Mercury truck. It's a 1962, and as you can see here, custom cab. It's a very plain Jane truck for the year. No radio. It does have a heater in it. It has wipers, but that's the extent of the the options. Obviously, it's got spoke hubs front and back. I redid the bearings all around, brakes all around, all new seals on all the axles, new rubber. These you can't see them here because they're on the inside, but these are the old 3-piece rims, and my local tire shop will work on these, and they were able to get me the correct rubber for them. So you can see there, I think 920. These are radial tube types. They weren't cheap, but they're good tires. So yeah, here's the passenger side. You can see the paint right here. It's that lighter blue. That was the original kind of a turquoisey color. And then at some point in its life, somebody determined that they wanted a red truck. And then later on, somebody decided they wanted to paint it back at more of a green color. So this green color is what you see. Now, I'm gonna probably leave it a green truck, but I have to repaint it because, as you can see, whoever did the body work preparatory to painting this truck the last time did a very poor job of surface prep, and this Bondo that they just slathered on like buttering a piece of bread, it's all come away and it's all cracking and shrinking. So it's a very poor paint job. So the hood's the worst, but there's spots all over the place where it's they should have just painted the metal. It's a farm truck. You don't need Bondo. Anyways, I put a new bumper. The original factory bumper was still on it, but it was all wrinkled up and rusty and broken, and it'd been bent numerous times, and you know how farmers hook chains onto things. So I just bought this piece of angle iron, put a little hitch on it here. If I ever want to actually tow it, I'll just throw a hitch in there and put a clevis on it and tow it off the bumper. The bumper's bolted down here. So pop the hood, let you have a look at the engine. So it's a 302 cubic inch Lincoln Y-block V8 engine. This is not the original engine, but it's the stock engine. They just put a rebuilt one in here, and you can actually see, you can't really see from here, but down low there's a plate with the rebuild, and so it's been replaced, obviously, on the original motor, so that's fine. It's been converted over from a mechanical fuel pump to an electrical fuel pump. Now they had what I would consider a high pressure fuel pump on there when I bought this. I converted it over to a low pressure fuel pump because these carburetors do not need high pressure. You just got to get gas up there, and that's it. 3-4 psi is lots of gas pressure. You just got to keep that bowl full. That's it. So I had to rebuild the carburetor. The needle and seat were not working. Between that and high fuel pressure, it was just dumping gas. The gas is just getting forced right through the carburetor. You turn the electric fuel pump off, and it just puked gas down in the intake manifold. And then of course it would run down in, find a valve that's open or seeps around, and it all ended up in the oil pan. When I went to look at the truck, I pulled the dipstick here, and all I could smell was gasoline. And I said to the guy, "We're not going to try to start and run this today, are we?" I said, because I would not run this engine with that oil smelling like gasoline. So we didn't, and because it wasn't running, it was way too much fuel. It was just like forcing, a gallon a minute into the carburetor. It's bizarre. So they said, "Well, we'll start and run, but it wouldn't idle." Well, of course it wouldn't idle. You're drowning a thing in gasoline. So, anyways, we got that fixed. Bought a carb kit, rebuilt the carb, put a low pressure fuel pump on it. It runs fine, and it still needs to be tidied up under here. They had bought the stuff to run new plug wires, and they replaced a few, but it was even beyond them, just changing the distributor cap and rotor and plug wires, like it, I don't know, they couldn't seem to be able to figure out how to make up the kits and just do it, but anyways, it is what it is. I had to run all the wiring. They had replaced these signals and running lights. They're all LED lights here now on the truck. They had done that. They had bought the lights, but nothing was really wired up. Nothing was working. So I had to run wiring to all the signal lights. Everything was just, well, it had headlights, and that was it. Nothing else really worked. So I spent a lot of time wiring, and I still have a little bit more wiring to do. But anyways, I had to put all new brake linings. I had to get all the brake shoes relined, including the parking brake. So both fronts, both rears, and the parking brake. I had to take those all off, send them away, get them relined, bring them back. I'm still kind of tuning the brakes, just getting them all. I had to rebuild all the wheel cylinders. I had to rebuild the master cylinder here. Everything has been apart, back together. And it took us about 2 hours to bleed the system after getting everything back together and refilling it. And my dad was good enough to come and help me do that brake bleeding. Boy, it was a long process. There's a lot of spots for air to sit in this, but we've got it. It's got pretty good brakes right now. I'm still doing some tuning and adjusting, but other than that, I'll just close this hood. And so a little bit of look around here. Originally it had a behind the seat fuel tank, and I took that out because this is not the original seat in the truck. This is a bench seat out of something else, but it fits, so it's what I used because I can't really afford to buy an original factory Ford seat. But it had a behind the seat fuel tank. This enables me to put the seat about 3 inches further back, which is good for me because I'm 6 feet tall, and these F-Series cabs, even the modern ones, they're a little bit better, but I have a 97 and it's still just hardly enough on the regular cab models. So this is what I did. I went to the wreckers and I picked up a nice 20-gallon saddle tank, and I just cleaned it all up, welded up the holes, rinsed it all out, put it on. It came with brackets, put it on brackets, and we just got it plumbed in here. Here's the lever for the hoist. The pump is in. There's a reservoir pump. It's an integral assembly. Runs off the power takeoff. There's a power takeoff shaft. Chelsea PTO. And here's the PTO lever. I moved it. It was up on the dashboard here. They had it up right here in this hole here, and then they had a the cable ran up into the engine compartment across the top of the engine, and they had an electric tape to rad hoses and stuff to keep it from hitting the fan. And then it went down around the other side. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. So I routed it under the seat here, over under the seat and down along the transmission tunnel, and it loops around and hooks onto the PTO. Makes much more sense to me, but anyways, do I know? So that's the general idea. The interior, it's got a running board and a step. You know, typical Ford of the period, or Mercury, I should say. You know, it's got sold in Canada, so it was badged as a Mercury, but it's essentially a Ford F700. And you can see the Mercury 700. So the interior, it's no power steering. The only power thing on it is the brakes, the power steering, and the power that makes it go. Very plain Jane dash. I'll give it a little start up here. This is the first start of the morning. I'm just heading over to the barn for chores, so I'll see if she'll start here for me. So it's got electric fuel pump, and then make sure neutralized, parking brakes on, everything's safe. I'll give it choke, 2 pumps. So the gauges all seem to work. Speedometer works. The lights all work. And yeah, it's a fairly plain Jane truck. I still have to finish up the rubber boots around the steering wheel and the clutch rod there. I did have a spare gear shift boot kicking around in my junk storage, and then I just made up for the parking brake here, and some rubber stuff to make up around the parking brake lever. That's just a wheel chuck. That's the original battery box there. It's no longer in there because I have a larger battery. So whoever had the truck previously and was using it, they put a larger battery box mounted on the frame. So that's it. It's a very plain Jane sort of interior. Sheet metal between you and the great open sky. Cardboard, just cardboard sun visors. This is back in the day when they built trucks. You could buy a plain Jane truck. It was just very plain Jane. Still have a little bit of tuning on the carburetor, a little bit of tuning on the brakes. So just got the truck really going for its first real drive, other than just moving around in the yard yesterday. So a little more walk around. Turn the lights on here. Alright, so I'm going to leave it like that for now. That's my 1962 Mercury M700 truck. It's going to be my flatbed farm truck. Use it for hauling hay, hauling logs, hauling firewood, hauling whatever needs hauling. Lumber, you name it. And I'm hoping to get it into the garage for safety in the next week or two. Once I get all the final tune-ups and adjustments made, and I have to wire in a 12-volt plug in the cab just for a phone charger, because it doesn't even, this didn't come with a cigarette lighter even. It has an ashtray but no cigarette lighter. I guess they figured every good man would carry a box of matches with him, book of matches. So I'll sign off for now, and that's the truck as it stands as of today. Take care.